Hi, my name is Sam Fiske, and I'm a junior at Claremont McKenna College. In this video, I'll be discussing the Supreme Court case dealing with transgender employment discrimination, Harris Funeral Homes versus the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which was heard on October 8th of 2019. Amy Stevens was an employee at Harris Funeral Homes, which was a small for-profit funeral home in Michigan. After about 6 years of her employment, she decided that she wanted to identify as female. She told her boss that she wanted to wear female clothing, and he ultimately told her this would not comply with the dress code, and if he allowed her to do so, it'd be violating God's commandments. She was then fired. Amy Stevens filed suit with the EEOC and said that she had been fired on the basis of unlawful sex discrimination. The EEOC sued Harris Funeral Homes and said that they had violated Title VII, which prevents discrimination on the basis of sex. The first court ruled in favor of Harris and dismissed the case, but the second court ruled in favor of the EEOC, saying that Title VII included discrimination based on someone's identity as a transgender person. Because of this discrepancy in the lower courts, it eventually ended up at the Supreme Court. Ultimately, this presents two legal questions. First of all, does "because of sex" include someone's identity as a transgender person? In other words, is it legally valid to fire someone because they identify as transgender? Secondly, it questions whether the prohibition of sex stereotyping in Pricewaterhouse v. Hopkins is applicable to this case. Pricewaterhouse v. Hopkins ruled that an employee can sue on the basis of gender stereotyping. A gender stereotype is the expectation that someone will dress a certain way or have romantic relationships in a certain way because of their perceived gender identity. In the instance of Pricewaterhouse v. Hopkins, it was perceived that someone wasn't feminine enough. And in this case, it's perceived that someone isn't masculine enough. It's argued that the same standard should apply. The legal team for Harris is arguing that treating men and women equally does not require employers treating men as women and women as men. Sex and transgender status are independent concepts. If this case is ruled in favor of Harris Funeral Homes, it will imply that Title VII is not applicable to transgender individuals. This will mean that the gender stereotyping under Pricewaterhouse v. Hopkins does not apply to these individuals. Ultimately, a practical implication of this might be that transgender individuals will have less job security. If this case is ruled in favor of the EEOC, it'll mean that transgender people are protected from discrimination under Title VII. It will mean that one's transgender identity, like one's race, is a protected characteristic and therefore not a legally valid reason to be fired from one's job.